Oh, I guess we are recording. All right, that's the last person I think coming in right now. Okay, so I think everybody's here. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hopefully everybody got my email last night and they have come ready to go with their knife and their soap. You didn't use soap to take a bath, right? And you didn't use the knife to cut bread or something. So you've got that all there. You also should have the template and you should have cut that out. If you didn't, it's fine. It just would buy you some extra time. So welcome. This is going to be lots of hands-on. You see Anna, a picture there that she's showing. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do and why we're doing it. So I'm going to start off. I'm kind of looking around because I'm trying to get to know everybody. We have a few people that are still coming on, but just a few housekeeping items. So in the email I sent last night, I also talked about working with the dental mentors to set up some one-on-one mentoring time. So I've got some time slots picked out for that. They'll mostly be when you don't have sessions or when another group is going and you're free. So make sure you sign up for those. And like I said, we'll talk about dental school admissions, getting through college, just whatever is on your mind. So that's really for you. Okay, and it's not mandatory, those are optional. So they will contact you to set up a time and you can do it if you'd like. If you want to do it later, you can. So that will be fine. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And so we can get to the business of the day because we only have an hour and you've got a lot to do in this exciting, fun-filled hour. All right. So let me go here. All right. So what we are working on today, I'm going to is we're going to carve the maxillary central incisor. This is, the picture here has nothing to do with carving. This is just a picture of one of the student groups at one of our recruitment sessions. And so I like the picture and put it up here. This is me and here's my son who does not want to go to dental school, but likes to come to these things. So he's at everything. All the students know him, but he doesn't want to be a dentist. All right, so this is the typical environment where we would be having this session. So if we were face-to-face, you would be sitting in here. We call this the preclinical dentistry lab. If you look here, you can see on the screen, there's someone with a, this is a mannequin tooth set that they're using. And so all the students have a set of these maxillary and mandibular, and this is where they practice before they work on patients. So those teeth are removable. They will practice fillings and doing dentures and various procedures, and then they take the tooth out and they replace them. So it's really a nice way to practice. This is another picture of that, and you can see we have about 63 seats in here, and everybody has their own individual screen. And so the instructor works from an instructor station, and you get a close-up view of what they're doing. So we're going to try to mimic that today. All right, so why are we doing this exercise in particular? So I thought about what would be really helpful for you in terms of applying to dental school and even helping you make the decision about wanting to go to dental school. So this particular activity works on what's called your psychomotor skills. These are your movement tasks, like driving would be an example of that. And the reason why we want to pick this particular procedure is because within that frame of psychomotor skills, we have something called manual dexterity. And just to show you how important this is for dentistry, I have here, if I can pull up. All right, so this is from the American Dental Education Association, and it talks about the importance of manual dexterity. So dental school kind of has two big areas that you want to excel in. One is obviously studying and being able to learn all of the basic science materials, but the other big piece is this manual dexterity. So this is the ability to use your hands in a skillful and coordinated way to be able to manipulate objects. And so this is where the dentistry piece comes in when you work on patients. This is very important to dental schools. You have to be able to perform dental procedures. You have to be able to work with precision and on an extremely small scale in a dark place like the mouth. And the DAT, which you will all take if you continue on this journey, is going to be also testing your manual dexterity. There's a section where they're not going to ask you to do something in front of them, but they are going to they're going to test this skill through asking questions and showing you pictures that you have to answer questions about. It's also going to be something that you may get asked on a dental school admissions dental school admissions interview. They may ask you about how you've developed your manual dexterity skills. So we want to do this with you so you get a chance to try this out and you can identify challenges and areas for improvement for yourself so that you can know this before you come to dental school. So what are we working on today? We are going to reproduce the maxillary central incisor. And here's some pictures of it. So here it is in the mouth. We have two of them, two maxillary central incisors. So these are large teeth that are in the front here. Here's another picture of it. And we have different surfaces. So you're going to hear the dental mentors use some terms to help you while you're doing your carving. And they're going to say something like the facial. So facial is the front of the tooth that's actually facing your face. Lingual is the part that's facing your tongue. So that's the back of the tooth. And you have mesial and distal. Mesial is the midline. So that would be here. And that's facing the middle of the tooth. Distal is away from the middle. And then the next term that they're going to use is incisal. And so that's if you're looking at the tooth from the bottom. So this is the incisal edge here. So here's another picture of the tooth showing some of the various sides. So that's the tooth that we're going to be carving. You could carve the other one, but that's essentially what we're going to be working on. The function of this tooth is biting, cutting, incising, shearing food. So this is, you're biting into an apple. This is primarily the tooth that you're going to use. This also plays an important role in aesthetics. If you don't have this, it's going to be immediately obvious to people. So it causes an aesthetic issue. And then also what people don't think about is the phonetics. So sometimes people think of dentistry as, well, it doesn't look good if you're missing a tooth, but it also affects your ability to speak in addition to your ability to eat. So all right, so I'm going to show you a demo of what you are going to do. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by the demo because you can do this, I promise you. So we're going to watch this and then we are going to get to it. So this has some really weird music playing in the background and maybe it won't even play. Do you hear the music? Okay, you don't need to hear the music. So there's no talking. All right, so I'm gonna talk over it. This part here is where we are drawing out the central incisor. And you see he's drawing it, now he's cutting it out. So we've done that part for you. We already gave you the drawings and you've already cut them out, or you're cutting it out right now as I'm talking. So we've already done that part. So you got one part done. This is his bar of soap. He's using wax. And now he's going to cut this down according to the template. See, that doesn't look too bad, right? And so he uses different instruments. And so trying to decide which instrument for you to use. Right now he's using a spatula. He will use a knife similar to what you have. And so I decided on the knife because I felt like it had more utility. As you start the cutting, the mentors will give you some tips about how to use the knife so that you don't break up the integrity of the soap. The soap is actually very soft. So this is not going to be that difficult. You can tell his wax looks soft as well. Now he's taking the side view and he's going to cut down the side portion. That's the mesial and distal. So he's doing that. He did the buccal and lingual first. Now he's going to do the mesial and distal. So these are his gross cuts. He's making these big cuts. And then once he gets this down, he'll start refining the tooth. And as you get to that part, I'm going to show you some more images of the tooth up close so you can see some of the finer details. And I don't know what's up with this music, but this is what we got. All right, so now he's working on the lingual, the mesial, I'm sorry, the buccal or facial. All right, so I'm gonna fast forward ahead just a little bit. So this whole video, it takes 11 minutes to do the whole thing. You will have way more time than that. But I'm going to let you kind of see him getting to his final product. Oops. All right, let me fast forward to where we were. I went to admit somebody in and then, all right, so let's go about here. Okay. So now he's just kind of carving the tooth. He's got the big chunks cut away and he's got the basic shape. So now he's going to refine that. And you see we're at about the 4-minute mark. So we don't expect you to do it this quickly, but this is, you can see that the time that you have, which should be enough to go through the process. All right, I don't know why I keep doing that. All right, let me try one more time. I'll go closer to the end this time. All right, let's go to about minute 7. 4 minutes out here. He's still carving. We'll go ahead a little bit more to minute 9 when he has about 2 minutes left. Okay, at this point, he has about 2 minutes left. So you see it's really starting to look like a tooth. We'll fast forward ahead now to the last minute so you can see him doing the finishing. There we go. Now he takes a stocking and basically polishes it up with a stocking, which you could do. And there's his finished procedure. And now he measures it against his original drawings. And there it is. Okay. All right, so that's what we have. And so now it's going to be time for you to work on sharpening your skills. I'm going to have our dental mentors take over and help you out. While you're doing this, I will be also putting up some other pictures and video of the maxillary central incisor so you could watch it. These will be shorter ones, so you can kind of watch it while you're carving. I think that'll be helpful. Here's some additional pictures that I'll leave up. But I think I want to start by, I know the mentors worked on some, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and see if they would mind showing theirs that they worked on. All right, so Nia, I know you had done one. Do you want to show yours?
Yeah, sure. And so this one actually, I did it and it's not completely finished, but just to kind of show you guys, like after you get the shape of the tooth, you know, there's still, of course, lots of minor adjustments. When we're in PCD, we don't use soap, but we use wax. We end up a lot of times like waxing up a tooth and just spending like maybe like hours at a time working on the same tooth. And so this is the tooth that I made. This is the facial side, the front side of it. And then this is the lingual. And so there's still lots of adjustments that can be made to it. And I'll actually go through some of those a little bit later on while you guys are working on carving. And then this is the incisal edge that you can see. And then this is the distal side here. And we'll actually even talk about that. There's a way you can tell the difference between like the distal and the mesial side of the tooth. And this is the mesial side here. And so you can kind of still see where this is facial and lingual. But we'll talk about the differences that you know, which is the distal and the mesial side of the tooth too. But yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So it might help you all if you want to if you don't have yours already set to speaker view so that you can see the mentor's view bigger. That might help you while you're carving. And so who's going to start off with the soap? Let's see everybody's soap. Everybody have their soap out and their knife? All right. Okay, I think you're ready to go. It's 10 minutes to 11. So we're going to get cracking now so we can get something looking like a tooth done before we finish. That's our goal. All right, Nia, you want to start? And then I think Anna and Janai are going to pop in.
Yeah, Janai was going to start us off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janai?
Okay, hey y'all, how's everybody doing?
Oh, hello, I didn't see you.
Hey y'all, how's everybody doing? So I somewhat just did the outline of my tooth. My tooth wasn't supposed to be finished. So as you can see, it starts off looking a little rough. And I'm going to finish mine with you all. But I just tried to make sure the shape of the tooth was there. Is there anybody left-handed here? Because I'm left-handed. Okay, Alex, so there's a certain way I realized when cutting that Mr. Webby, which is our lab tech, showed us. And like, I think everybody does this, but if everybody can see me, or does everybody see me? So in dental school, we have this thing called our finger rest. So you want to kind of keep your fingers, your index and your ring finger kind of placed on the object that you're carving. So that way you could glide it more easily. And Nia made a good point yesterday. Like the front end of the knife is really sharp. So if you could do the side, like a very gliding motion from the side, you'll get a better cut. Yeah, so this is very rough. I'm going to be finishing up my tooth with you all. There's a lot of things, I would never turn this one in, but there's a lot of things I'm going to fix with you all.
So if you guys want to, so I know you guys, everybody has 1 bar of soap. And so one thing, if you want to have a chance to maybe try twice, if you know, just in case, we actually, I think you can still make a tooth out of just half the bar of soap. So if you take your bar of soap and cut it in half, yep, like Janai has hers. I think I cut mine like right between the words Irish and spring when I first did it. And so Janai has her half a bar. And if you cut it in half, that way you get 2 chances or 2 opportunities to make a tooth.
And my recommendation is the bar of soap actually already has like a natural curvature to it. So the facial side curves in a little bit more. And so make that the side where it says Irish spring.
Yeah, so the front of your tooth should be the side where the text is. Yeah, because that will help.
And you can lay your stencil on top of it and just kind of get like a basic outline shape.
Yeah, you also take your facial side of your tooth, this facial side, start with that and keep it on the side that Anna and Nia just said, on the facial side with the springs after you cut it in half. And you'll kind of trace it like this so you can get that first shape.
So when I traced mine, I didn't have a pencil on me. If you have a pencil or a pen, you can use that. But I kind of just used actually the tip of my knife with the stencil on top of the soap, and then just use the tip of my knife to kind of just basically trace around the stencil like this, because it'll also create a nice line on it too, just around the stencil here.
And don't go too deep at first. Just try to get the outline.
So
if you guys have questions or, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, hopefully everybody can see all of your videos, because I can see Anna's cameras pointed towards the table and you can see her cutting. But yes, if you have questions, you can, there's only 20 of us. You can turn off your mute. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. You can also put something in the chat. I see, was the stencil supposed to be in our package? Yes, you got the stencil in your package. Does somebody not have it? Because I can email it to you. I see the name. Is there another person that needs it? The only thing is if oh, okay. Dr. McNicholas is saying it was in the envelope.
And if you don't have it, I'm about to send a PDF in the in the dental group me.
Great. Now you will need a printer to print it out and then cut it. And it's on Canvas. Alex says we also, yes, I did put it on Canvas. So it's in multiple places. So it should be in the envelope. I definitely put a copy. If you go to Canvas and you go to modules and it's module 3 for dentistry, it is in there under handouts or worksheets. I think it's under the heading says worksheets. Yasmin is not in the group me. Same thing. So anybody that can't find the stencil, it's on Canvas. I think Janai is also going to put it in the group me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can put the link to the group me in this chat as well, so that anybody who hasn't yet joined the group me, if you don't see the email or anything, I'll just put it in here so you can join from here as well.
And I'm seeing it right now.
The facial side should be the side with the words. And thank you for using the correct terminology. Woohoo!
Okay, y'all, the handout is now in the group me. If you don't.
Everybody should be in the group me, because that's what we're going to be using for all of the things that we have to do with you separately.
And the link for the group me is now in the chat box here. So anybody who's not in the group me should be able to use this link to be able to join.
I have a question. So once we trace out like the facial side, are we taking the knife and we're going to like shave off the sides and the bottom and the top? That's what we're doing first?
So since this is a bar of soap and you can't add, it's much harder to add back on later, I'd say going ahead and get your facial side, cut out with the stencil, and then cut out from the two side stencils as well, the two sides. And then after that, we'll kind of start shaving away. I think Anna's going to show some of that.
Okay.
So you can look at the tooth from all sides at the same time, because you don't want to accidentally be looking at it from just one view and then shave something away and then realize, oh, I may have needed that, in bulk, like I may have not needed it in the front, but I may have needed the thickness back here, and you don't want to accidentally shave that away. So yeah, get your three sides all like rough shape first, and then we'll start doing like more of the refining.
Yeah, and I would recommend just like taking all your stencils and then as you're going, just kind of checking like.
Mom.
Oh my gosh, look at Anna's.
Yeah, I made mine to be like
Do that.
towards the end. I made mine to be sort of towards the end. So like this took me, I don't recommend, like I really don't think that you guys are gonna finish this in an hour. Like this took me like 2 hours. And that's me being familiar with the anatomy, but this is just kind of like to get you like an idea of like the hand skills, and then like maybe later you guys can practice with it.
And Anna wanted hers perfect.
Yeah, I did.
For some reason, dentistry seems to attract the perfectionist.
I was good at waxing.
But just to let you know, at school, they don't have that much time to do something like this. They have what they call practical exams, and they will get a set amount of time to do this. So what they do is they go into the lab and they practice ahead of time and try to time themselves. But then when they have an exam, that's the exam, is that you have to do it in a specified period of time.
And y'all, to kind of piggyback on what Dr. Robinson said, don't be discouraged if you feel like your tooth doesn't look good out of soap on a first try. Dentistry was a learning curve for me when I first came in with waxing. So a lot of people have this mindset like if I can't do it, then I can't be a dentist. And that's not true. My first practical, I didn't do as well. And over time, I just started to get better. It's an acquired skill. It really is. And it takes practice. So don't feel like, you know, if you don't get it on the first try that you can't be a dentist either.
No, I think having done this experience will help you tremendously. When you go on an admissions interview, they're not going to ask you to see the tooth, right? But having had the experience of doing this is something that you can talk about. Now, if your tooth just looks wonderful and you work on it after this and you're so proud and you want to bring it with you to the interview, by all means. But it's the experience of saying, I've done this and I like this, and I feel like I can develop the manual dexterity to do things like this. That's what's going to help you.
Yeah.
The soap smells so good. So at the end, Nia's mom came up with, she was talking about all these uses for Irish Spring soap. So for those of you that never want to see this tooth again, I'll show you that at the end. This has a lot of uses. So I had some extra soap after I sent out the soap to all of you. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using all that extra soap for.
Carolyn and I, when we were loading up the boxes, 20 bars of Irish Spring started to get a little bit obnoxious after a while.
Like headache for 2 days.
Yeah, it's going to be fixed in our brain. Whenever you smell Irish Spring, we're going to remember packing those boxes. It was rather strong. It smells gorgeous, but when there's 20 or more of them all there, it was funny.
So when you're starting off, to cut out like the bulk, you can use the actual blade, but this soap is so soft that I would recommend when you're carving, like I flipped it over, and this is something Nia noticed, it's easy to carve away with the back of it.
And in particular, I liked, like, let's see if I can point out this edge right here, kind of like where the knife curves. That curved part of the back of the knife is really helpful, especially when you're doing the back of the lingual side of the tooth. And you see how you got to get that nice kind of like curve, you know, all the way across. And that little curved part of the knife kind of really helps you to nicely do it without gouging the soap, because that was one of the things that, you know, with the sharp edge of the knife, it is so sharp. And so sometimes it's easy if you're pressing a little bit too hard, just kind of like gouge just a tiny little, like, you know, divot into the soap. And so that back of the knife is nice and smooth. And if you just do like Janai said earlier, kind of like soft brush strokes with it, it's really great. So has everybody kind of gotten to the part where they've
Cut off the perimeter.
and cut out with the stencils? Is everybody still working on that? Okay.
In a minute, once I see everybody working, I'll show you another, this is about a 2-minute video, but it's only to show the anatomy of the tooth. And I think it will help you as you're cutting to be looking at that at the same time. I want people to get a little bit further along, and then I'll put that up.
And then when she's talking about anatomy, one of the things that it's called the CEJ. It's the cemento enamel junction. So when you learn about teeth, or maybe you already know, some of you may already know, the tooth, different surfaces are made out of different types of, I guess, material or cells. And so the crown of the tooth is made out of enamel, and the root is made out of cementum. And so that junction where the two join is called the cemento enamel junction. And so you'll actually be able to see like the way that curves and the shape of that CEJ on the stencils. And so actually one of the first things that I did after I got my basic shape from the stencils, like after I got this shape here, that's just a rough shape from the stencils, I actually went on ahead and carved out my CEJ. So just to show you guys on these stencils here, this line here where you see this one, so the CEJ actually curves up on the sides, and then it curves down on the facial side of the tooth. And we also have a lingual picture of the lingual side as well. And you can see how the CEJ will curve on the lingual side. And so you want to go on ahead and actually kind of carve that in too. And so I actually kind of did that pretty early on after I got my general shape, just so that I kind of could see my boundaries of what part of my tooth was going to be the crown and what part was going to be the root of the tooth. So so after you guys finish your stencils, once you guys get there, that's the next thing I would say. You might want to just get like a general, you don't have to carve it deep, you know, I just use a very light touch just to kind of get this basic shape so you can start seeing the difference and start seeing where your tooth is going to start forming.
good. Everybody's busy at work. So usually when the students are in the lab doing this and I come up to the lab, you can always tell when it's the very beginning of the semester because everyone's like you, they're all quiet and very intent on what they're doing.
Mm.
You get about 2 months in, you come in and the lab is just noisy. So everyone's sitting there doing their work and they're all chatting and they've got all kinds of things up on their computers that they're looking at and talking to people while they're working. So it becomes a social event / working event in the lab. And there's just a lot of chatter and socialization while they're doing it. But the first couple of weeks, it's just like you come in there and it's like dead quiet. And I think they're taking an exam or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
PC is like the best class.
my group of people that sat near me, like, were known for playing music. And so like the whole classroom would just like listen to the music that was playing near me.
Yeah, and you also in class, if you do see, I'm a person who does like music too. So even during a bridge exam, if you feel like you don't like too much peace and quiet, the instructor allows you to put in headphones. And it's kind of relaxing when you have your music playing and calms your nerves on the day of the test.
See, things you didn't know about dental school. I bet you never thought you would be sitting in a lab listening to music while you're doing this. And of course, right after this, you've got a gross anatomy test and you can't listen to music there, but it's kind of a give and take. So Janai's in her first year. And so what's your schedule like? Do you want to share with them kind of what a typical day and share one pre-COVID and then one post-COVID, like what that was like?
Yes. So, like I said, dental school was a learning curve for me. What worked in undergrad did not work in dental school for me. So at first I thought I could stay up late at night. Then I realized I could not do that for me. So I started to wake up. Our classes started around 8, usually 8 a.m. I started to wake up around 5:30 to study a couple hours beforehand, like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes beforehand, just to prepare for the day. So then, it depends on the classes. We'll have we'll have classes from 8 to 12 p.m. Then we'll have lunch from 12 to 1 p.m. And then you have classes like 1 to 5. So with the schedule, I'm gonna do spring semester. We usually came in with like periodontology, which is like just learning about periodontal disease and probing deaths. And we had a different class, like neuroscience, and we'll go to Volker. I took lunch to actually relax and eat my lunch. Some people like to study during lunch, but I would get tired. So I would just I would just take a break and relax. Cause like I said, I studied before school even started. Then gross anatomy. I actually loved gross anatomy. It was actually one of my favorite classes. I don't know. I didn't really, at first I thought the cadavers would really like freak me out, but it was a really fun class. And I just enjoyed learning how the body worked and actually seeing the body from a firsthand account. And then, we would stay in class from 1 to 5. I would go home, I would eat, work out, and study again. And I would just keep doing that until Friday. So that was how a schedule was. And then after COVID, it was a lot of schedule your time. So, they would just kind of post lectures already pre-recorded. So I would just do my time. So I would try just to do 3 lectures a day and really understand that. And I truly recommend in dental school getting a study group, because my study group, we would pick turns of creating Quizlets, creating study guides. So with each lecture, we will say, okay, Janai, you do this lecture, Quizlet and study guide. And then we'll all meet on a weekend to talk out everything that we've learned, that this, like the lecture that we were quote unquote assigned. So I do recommend a study group. It's very crucial in dental school.
Nia was my study group.
So I guess we can also talk about our D. So Anna and I just finished our D2 year. Although technically we actually still have some competencies for our D2 year that Dr. T just emailed us about the couple days ago to remind us that
Really?
technically have to finish them. Well, yeah, we still have some competencies we have to finish. We technically have to finish when we get back to school. before we officially had finished our D2 year. And so we
When are
actually,
when are y'all taking them?
we get a couple of weeks to practice when we first get back, and then we'll have to take them, you know, we'll practice in PCD first, then we'll take them.
Are y'all like going back July 6th?
Yeah.
And that's when you start practicing?
Yes. Yes. In PCD.
Okay, so it's like July 17th is when you take the competencies?
We don't have dates.
Okay.
But yeah, so for your D2 year, it's still kind of similar to your D1 year, where you're still taking a lot of like didactic courses. We finish up the organ system. So I know like Janai mentioned, like she had gross anatomy. I think she mentioned neuro too. And then you're finishing up those didactic courses, especially the first semester of your D2 year. And so our schedule looked very similar. You know, we usually started at 8 a.m. And we had classes both in Volker, which is the, I don't know if anybody mentioned, that's the med school building. And so we take all of our organ system courses in the med school building with the optometry students. And so we would take those classes there. And then we also had classes at the dental school. The biggest difference, I would say, or one of the bigger differences between D1 and D2 year is that D2 year, you have a lot more PCD. So in D1 PCD, I know we spent a lot more time doing like cavity, you know, preparations and fillings. So for like amalgams and composites, just learning the different types for different types of, they call them like different classes of preps. But then your D2 year, you do a lot. You do crown and bridge, you do dentures, you do partial dentures, you do, what else, Anna, is there? I'm blanking. You do
Bridge and crown.
implants. Yeah. So basically we learn everything else, it feels like, in PCD. And so we have a lot more time in PCD your D2 year, especially because by second semester, we're done with all of our organ system classes. And so all of our classes at that point are dental school related. It's not all PCD, most of it is, but we're still taking other classes that are lecture style, such as, what did we take? We took orthodontics, we took perio, and actually you have perio twice. So you have perio your first year, then a second perio class your second year.
We took our third year perio ahead of time.
Yeah. So, okay. So speaking of how COVID affected us, so our second semester, you know, we were doing that. The one class that we weren't able to finish in PCD was endodontics. So that's one of the things that we have to go back and actually still finish learning, really. Like we've learned it conceptually after COVID impacted us, but we still have to go back and learn how to practice being able to do root canals on different types of teeth. The only one that we got to do in person was the central incisor, actually, maxillary central.
And I didn't do it well either.
Huh?
I said I didn't do it well either.
Yeah, it was our very first one, and we were all still figuring out, you know, how to, you know, fill the tooth with it's called with the material gutta percha, and it was interesting. It was our very first one.
And y'all,
they had. Did you tell them how you do the practice? So they have to get extracted teeth.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are actually working on, so I had showed you the typodont, that's the model of the teeth, those are plastic teeth, and they practice fillings on that. But the root canals, endodontics, you need a real tooth. So they actually get teeth that have been extracted and they practice on those. And so that gives them some insight into a real tooth and how that works.
Yeah, hot tip.
No, prior to school, like I know at UAB, they'll give you this container once you get accepted, and they'll be like, can you collect like 50 teeth before school? So like usually like a class size of like 63 people will all like collect 50 teeth pretty much per person in that little container.
And then you'll go through and do it all over again your second year. So like she's right, before you even start, they ask you to collect teeth. And then in the middle of your second year, they ask you to go collect more. And you'll appreciate having a lot, because after you collect them, you actually want to check to see what the canals look like. So not every tooth that you collect is going to necessarily work to practice on in endo. So you want to have a lot so that you can actually pick and choose. We have to actually go through and individually like x-ray all of them to really see which teeth have like good canals for us to practice on. And so you want to have a lot of variety to actually be able to practice with it.
Okay, yeah, hot tip, and this is way ahead. Go to a denture clinic to get your extracted teeth, or a perio clinic, because then the teeth are intact and they're not just third molars. That's for you, Janai.
And so that's what the thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, denture clinic. There's actually for you tonight, anybody who ends up coming to Birmingham, there's one in particular. You have to drive out a little far to it. It's in I think it's in Shelby County, but they have like a huge jar. They just save them because they know dental students will eventually come and want their teeth, so they save them just all year round.
Really?
Yes, so I'll let you know the name of that place because that was a really good source for us to get teeth from.
Yeah, let me know, Nia, because I think I'm gonna go ahead and get mine. Yeah.
So for those of you who are working, this was the picture I put up earlier. And then I also have, this is another little video that will show the tooth. It's about 2 minutes. I'll show you this while you're working because I know we only have about 15 minutes left. I don't know if you all can hear that. Can you hear?
A little bit.
A little bit.
All right, let me see if I can turn that up.
Oh, while she's doing that, so the reason why we gave you guys all the link to get that app as well is so if you guys are working on your tooth, even after the session ends, you can go on that app and click on the tooth number that we're carving out right now is number 8. It's the first central incisor. And so you can use that app later as a reference if you want to see like the anatomy and stuff, again, like close up, to be able to compare the tooth that you're working on. You can use that app as a reference to go back and look at it.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great idea. Definitely get that app. That's going to be useful, not just for this, for you to kind of fine tune it, but even just for learning about the basics of dental anatomy. That's a great app to have.
Dr.
Right.
Robinson, when you go to share your screen, it should have an option for you to share your volume too, your sound.
Okay. Let's see.
It comes through clearer if you do that. So when you go to share screen, there's 2 boxes on the bottom left side. If you click on those, the sound should work.
All right, so I'm sharing screen. There's 2 boxes.
No, before you go to share the screen, if you X out a share screen,
Okay.
and then go to share screen again, and then you'll see all your monitor in front of you. On the bottom left-hand side, there's 2 boxes.
Oh, yes, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. And then there's an optimized for video clips. I'll do that one too. Okay. That should work. Thank you.
The maxillary central incisor has incisal edges which, along with the proximal surfaces, form incisal angles. The tooth is the widest mesial-distally on the crown and has a great curvature of the CEJ. The roots are conical in shape and come to a blunted apex. The mesial contact is in the incisal 1/3, and the distal contact is at the junction of the middle and incisal 1/3. Distinguishing right and left can be accomplished by observing the incisal angles. The mesial incisal angle is usually sharper, and the distal incisal angle is usually rounder. On these models, one can also observe the imbrication lines in the cervical 1/3, as well as the developmental depressions, which separate the 3 developmental lobes on the labial. From the lingual, one can also see the curvature of the CEJ. There's a cingulum, as well as mesial and distal marginal ridges. There's a lingual ridge and lingual fossa. From the proximal view, the
Uh-oh. This has been happening a lot. All right, let me go back.
The maxillary central incisor has
Let's see.
From the lingual, one can also see the curvature of the CEJ. There's a cingulum, as well as mesial and distal marginal ridges. There's a lingual ridge and lingual fossa. From the proximal view, the overall crown outline is triangular in shape. The incisal edge is centered over the long axis of the tooth. The height of contour for both the labial and the lingual is in the cervical 1/3. From the incisal, one can see that the proximals taper towards the cingulum.
Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. Does anybody want to show us what they have so far? Doesn't have to be perfect. Come on, just put it at the camera. Let's see. Oh, okay. See, I'm looking at Amber's. All right. All right. Who is EXTEX? What's your name?
Elon. My name's Elon.
Elon. It looks very nice. Liana, very nice. Vivia, very nice. That's really good, considering how much time you had. Very.
Dr. Robinson, can I get a good picture of everyone? Can they hold theirs up?
You want to give them a few more minutes?
Sure.
Okay,
And just so you guys have an idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about waxing, it's like a tiny tooth that's like the size of an actual tooth, and it's just wax. And you do it in blue wax so you can see it easier.
And we're usually just waxing the crowns of the teeth. Like right now, you guys are carving the whole tooth and, you know, crown and root out. But when we're doing it in class, we're really just focusing on the crowns.
Yeah, so the root really doesn't matter. I don't
Yeah,
think
and on a practical, they give you like 4 hours to do it.
Mm-hmm.
and I take those 4 hours.
Me too.
I do too. I think most people do. I don't know, maybe the fastest person in our class finished in
2.5.
at least
Whoa.
2. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like at least 2 hours, even the fastest person. So,
So
you
I
want to take your time.
when y'all learn anatomy, you would get like very like particular of how you want your teeth, because you're like, oh, that doesn't look right.
So to kind of show you guys, yeah, so to show you guys some of the particularities that she's talking about. So I think that video mentioned how you can tell the mesial and distal edges of the tooth apart. So even on these teeth, if you guys want to try, so here's a picture, or maybe I can show you on my actual tooth. I'll do the two side by side. Okay, so this is showing. Okay, yeah. So if you look on, I guess it's the right side of my screen, that's the distal side of this tooth. And so if you see, that one's a little bit more curved towards the end, like she said, it has more of a they call it a distal bulge, so it bulges out, whereas on the mesial side, it's a little bit straighter. And so if you guys want to try to even incorporate that on your tooth, you can even see if you can get, you know, this edge here a little bit more curved, and then this side here is a little bit straighter. That's the mesial side of the tooth. So keep track when you're looking at your tooth. Like I said, it's number 8. So when you're looking at the app, it's number 8 that we're doing. Or you can pick number 9, but you just want to make sure you pick one early on, so that whenever you're carving and removing soap, that you're always doing it from the same side consistently. And you can try to make one side a little bit more curved, another side a little bit straighter.
And when you hit the tooth, it'll tell you the number, I think, but it's the one on your left.
Yeah, it would tell you.
Yeah, yeah. And then, let's see if I can get this from the incisal view on the app.
Yeah, and also y'all just make sure you keep, because the facial size has a little bit more soap or a little bit more wax. So yeah, even you could tell.
Yes. So here you can see the incisal view of the tooth. And so if you kind of see both sides, they kind of go straight down, and what she called the cingulum is that bulge on like the lingual side, the back side of the tooth. That's called the cingulum. And that's kind of straight in the middle of the tooth. And that's actually a characteristic, because you'll see, well, in dental school, we learn that some of the teeth, the cingulum isn't actually perfectly in the center like that. For some of them, it's maybe a little bit more, you know, on the distal side or so. So when you do your tooth, so this is actually something that I'd have to fix on mine. Here, you can see my cingulum is in the center, but here, this side, which is my mesial side, it's actually a little bit thicker than the distal side. And so that's something that I'd go back and I would change. And I'd thin this out. I'd probably take some, because it looks like on the facial side, I've got some excess here. So I'd probably take some off of here. And I may even have to take a little bit off of the lingual side of this one too. So those are the kind of adjustments that you would do that can make it, you know, after you get your overall tooth, that you can do just to try to like get the anatomy a little bit more, you know, precise if you wanted to. But these are all fine-tuning things. This is what makes it take a couple of hours for us when we work on a tooth.
And just so you know why we do this, all like why we care about the anatomy and stuff.
Well,
Like for the lingual side, it's because the patient,
everything's good.
it's because the patient will feel it. But on the facial side, depending on the shape of the tooth, the light will refract on it differently. So if you had something that was like just a complete dome without any of the anatomy on it, it would make the tooth actually thinner.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're doing this, the most important thing is to make it symmetrical with the tooth next to it, or the tooth that looks like it on the other side. And so that's like the big issue. That's why they care so much about anatomy, especially with the central incisors, because that's what you see.
Do you guys have any questions or anything before? I know we're getting close to running out of time, but.
Yeah. And don't feel like you have to finish it. I know Carolyn wants to take a picture, but the pictures are so tiny, they're all going to look beautiful when she takes it, because it's going to be like this big, right? With everybody on the same screen. So don't worry about that. And we definitely want you to keep working on these. When we have the one-on-one, I'm going to ask you about them. We have a session next week with the whole group where we're going to be doing a dental exam. And so what I'd like you all to be able to do, because you're all in different candy groups, is I'd like you all to have that finished by the time we do that session with the big group. And I want everybody to be able to show their teeth on camera, their finished one on camera. So that's your deadline for when you want to get this worked out to the way you want it. So that session is going to be, let's see here.
It's Wednesday, July 1st at 10.
Yes, Wednesday, July 1st at 10. So that's a deadline. So we want you to have your finished one by then, and you're going to show this off to the group. Again, it'll be tiny, so they won't be able to see all the anatomy and the grooves and everything like that. But you definitely don't want it to look like a block of soap, right? It should look tooth-ish, right? That would be because they'll be able to tell that. So if it doesn't even look toothish, they're going to go, I don't understand what they were doing. So make sure you have it by July 1st that morning, ready to go, because everyone will have to show theirs.
And another tip, this one Anna kind of discovered, is that if you're wanting to kind of smooth your tooth, so for example, this is the one I started, you know, during our session today. And so I've got some rough edges in some places that I might want to smooth. And so if you just get a paper towel and wet it, not like, you know, soaking, but just so it's a little bit damp, you can actually take it and, you know, it's soap. So if you just rub it along the sides, it'll kind of help smooth it out and polish it. And so I don't know if Anna ever showed her tooth that she's already pretty much finished, but she's got it nice and really smooth, and she's got some anatomy in there, even on the facial side, which we haven't talked about the small anatomy that you can see there, where it kind of like dips a little, but you can get all of that really well. And so it's just very kind of smooth and soft, like with the actual wet paper towel. So that's a really good tip too, when you're looking on towards the end, when you get to the point where you're refining it and just polishing it. So like that guy in the video polished it with a stocking. If you have a stocking, you can use that. That's honestly what we use in dental school to polish our waxes. We actually do have a little pantyhose, just like, you know, stocking that we use. Yeah, Anna's got hers out right now. But for now, if you don't have one, especially for our guys, you know, you can use a wet paper towel.
And if you wanted to see this is me after like 2 hours of work and me being very familiar with tooth anatomy. But you see there's kind of like indentions right here, and that's for the lingual side. And you get the cervical constriction with the very defined CEJ. And then on the facial side, something they really emphasize, especially with the central incisors, are the line angles. And it's kind of hard to tell when you're like not touching it, but here's the distal buccal bulge, and there's like a little bit of indentions here, and that's also for light refraction. So like I was saying before, if it's like a dome, it makes your tooth look thinner in the mouth, depending on how it refracts it. But if it's completely flat, then it makes your tooth look really fat in the mouth. And so it's stuff like that that makes the anatomy really important when you're doing this. For wax ups are what we use to cast the teeth when we're making crowns and kind of show the patient what it's going to look like in the mouth. So it's important that it looks pretty and it looks like you want it to look in the end.
And so those indentions that Anna was talking about on the app, you'll see those indentions on the tooth too. So if you wanted to be able to see that and refer back to it later on, these are the indentions on the facial side. I had to put the tooth kind of at an angle so you can really see it because it's a white, tooth, so it's hard to see the indentions on the app. But there they are on the facial side, and on the lingual side, let's see if I can. You can kind of see it too if you get it at the right angle. But you can just basically move this tooth around all angles. Oh, that you can see it better there. So you can see those same indentions on the lingual side as well on the app. So all these things that we're talking about, even if you don't remember, this app again is just great. You can go back and look at the tooth. You can enlarge it, make it smaller, and so you can really just see all of that detail of the anatomy of the tooth later for reference.
So I know we're probably out of time. So again, make sure you get the app. That's going to be your biggest help to get these finished up. I'd like to see the teeth as they stand now, and I know Miss Carolyn would like to get a picture. So if everybody could turn on their cameras and put the tooth up really close to the camera so we can see as much of it as possible. So, okay, we have Kiana and Kayana, it looks like. We're waiting for you, Kayana.
Good job, y'all.
Look at that.
Looking great.
Kiana White was saying something, but you're on mute.
I have 3.
All right, y'all. Sappho.
Kayana Saffold.
I think she had wisdom teeth. She didn't want to.
That's right. Yes, she did.
Oh, okay.
All right, y'all. On 3, 2, 1. And again, 3, 2, 1. And then I want to get a video. And what do you want them to say, Dr. Robinson, on the video?
A video of what, talking?
Yes. So go incisors. I don't know.
Okay. There you go. You go incisors.
Hold your incisors up. Let's see them.
All right.
Awesome job. Very cool. Thank you.
Very nice, everybody.
Good job, everyone.
After you perfected them, July 1st, that's the date. Get these perfect. You want to show the other people and impress them so they go, how come I didn't get to do that?
We should have started work number 8.
Yeah. So Dr. McNichols is
You just froze.
something now.
At least it waited until the end to freeze up on her.
Yeah, we've got Dr. Guilford's talking about physician assistant. We need to stop this.
Okay. All right.
So we can go on to the next one if that's okay.
That's fine. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Hope y'all had fun.
Bye.
That looks fun.
Nia, I'm about to
I
call
need
you.
to do it too. I'm jealous. I should have got myself
I'm
some.
about to call you real quick about the.
We should have kept one.
Oh,
We should have
okay,
saved
okay.
one.